Hello, and welcome to Mr. Hauser's Most Interesting Presidents. What is it that makes a president interesting? Is it their successes? Their failures? Is it the things that they did to change America? Or the things they did to keep America the same? In truth, it's all these things. Let's talk about a few of these presidents now. We'll begin at the beginning, with America's first president, George Washington. George Washington. George Washington led America to victory over England in the Revolutionary War as Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army. He presided over the writing of the Constitution in 1787. George Washington was unanimously elected president by the Electoral College in 1789 and again in 1792. Electoral College, a body of electors that elects the President of the United States. Washington created a model for the presidency. One cold December in 1799, after his presidency had ended, he was traveling around his farm, inspecting the property. It was very cold, raining, sleeting. He came home, ate his supper without changing his clothes, and the next morning fell ill. That Saturday, George Washington died. His last words were, "'Tis well." Adams. Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was the author of the Declaration of Independence. Declaration of Independence. Statement which announced that the American colonies were no longer part of the British Empire. Is that gonna keep happening? Because it's distracting. He was also responsible for the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, which doubled the size of the United States and today makes up 1/4 of the United States. He was also responsible for the subsequent explorations by Lewis and Clark. Thomas Jefferson died on July 4th, 1826, 50 years to the day after signing the Declaration of Independence. James Madison. James Monroe. John Quincy Adams. Andrew Jackson. Martin Van Buren. Harrison. Tyler. Polk. Taylor. Millard Fillmore. Franklin Pierce. James Buchanan. Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was a president of humble origins. He was a self-educated lawyer who all his life had opposed slavery. He ran for Congress and won. Then he ran for Senate and lost twice. He was elected president in 1860, during a time when the southern states were threatening to secede from the Union. Secede! Withdraw from an organization. The withdrawal of the southern states from the United States of America. The threats of secession were over the issue of slavery. The southern states did secede shortly after Lincoln's election to presidency, and the Civil War begun. In 1863, he signed the 13th Amendment, the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing the slaves. Lincoln was shot and killed only days after the end of the Civil War. Andrew Johnson. Ulysses S. Grant. Rutherford B. Hayes. Garfield. Chester A. Arthur. Grover Cleveland. Benjamin Harrison. Grover Cleveland. William McKinley. Theodore Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt became the youngest U.S. president after the death of William McKinley. He was an energetic president. He never touched alcohol, but sometimes drank a pot of coffee a day. He was an outdoorsman and an adventurer who had once given a 90-minute speech after being shot in the chest. Teddy Bears. are named for Teddy Roosevelt. What a big bear. William Howard Taft, believed to be the only president ever to get stuck in his tub.
Taft! Taft! Taft!
Woodrow Wilson, Warren G. Harding, Calvin Coolidge, Hoover, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was a distant cousin of Teddy Roosevelt. Despite being paralyzed from the waist down from polio, he became president at the end of the Great Depression.
Polio, an acute infectious disease caused by the polio virus and characterized by fever, motor paralysis, and often resulting in permanent disability.
Hate that guy. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was the only president to serve 4 terms. His presidency saw the end of the Great Depression and saw America through the Second World War. Harry S. Truman, Dwight D. Eisenhower, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. John Fitzgerald Kennedy was a hero of the Second World War. He was our first and only Catholic president. He was also the youngest individual ever elected to the presidency. He saw us through the Cuban Missile Crisis and was a big proponent of the space program. Tragically, Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas in 1963. Lyndon Baines Johnson, Richard Milhous Nixon. Richard Milhous Nixon was vice president under Dwight D. Eisenhower. He first ran for president in 1960, losing to John F. Kennedy. He ran again in 1968 and won the presidency. His term in office was marred by the Vietnam War and the Watergate scandal.
Watergate, the scandal following the break-in at the Democratic headquarters in 1972.
He won his first term on a campaign that he had a secret plan for ending the Vietnam War. He helped to establish better relations with China, but ultimately the Watergate scandal was too much for him and he resigned the presidency due to threat of impeachment.
Impeachment, to charge a public official with misconduct in office.
Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, William Jefferson Clinton, George Walker Bush, Barack Obama. And what can I say about Barack Obama? Well, he's our current president, the first African-American president, but Obama's story has yet to be written. You see, it's up to historians to decide the legacy of a president, and it is for history to judge Barack Obama. These are the men who lived in the White House, who changed America, some for better, some for worse, but all had a lasting impact, but only some were good enough to be considered interesting.